Thank you for joining us for the City of Oklahoma City's teleconference Board of Adjustment meeting for April 16th, 2020. We have a few announcements to make regarding the teleconference meeting. If the teleconference is disconnected at any time during the meeting will be stopped and reconvened once audio connection is restored. If connections are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the next regularly scheduled Board of Adjustment meeting. The agenda and documents are located on okc.gov. For applicants addressing documents and exhibits to applications, please be specific so that the board members and the public can follow along. For anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item or to speak under citizens to be heard, hopefully you have previously notified staff by phone or email, and I will call on you at the appropriate time. We will call the case, and then I will recognize the applicant. Then I will recognize any protestants. We will close with the applicant speaking. The board will deliberate, ask any questions, and then the board will vote. If you call in after your item has been heard, you'll be allowed to speak under citizens to be heard. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to comment. When you call in, staff will mute your phone. I ask that all participants, except for board members, keep their phones on mute until they are recognized to speak. To unmute your phone, press *6. Board members will be allowed to ask questions or make comments at any time during the meeting. Please remember that only one person can be heard at any time. If more than one person speaks, the system will mute one speaker automatically, so we will not hear both speakers. For anyone speaking today, including board members, it is important to identify yourself when you begin to speak for the purposes of the record. I now remind the city staff to make sure that this meeting is being recorded and call this meeting to order. Can we take a roll call vote to start, please?
Monica Yabera.
Present.
Mike Voorhees.
Present.
Mike Privet.
Present.
Kitty Asbury.
*6, Kitty.
Oh, start present.
Samuel Merchant, our
Present.
chair. Okay. We have a quorum.
Okay, the meeting's called to order. The first item on the agenda is to receive the minutes from the April 2nd, 2020 meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes or a vote? Or a motion?
Privet, motion to approve minutes.
Voorhees, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I heard Mr. Voorhees first on his second, so I think we'll go with him. Could we take a vote at this time for the receiving of the minutes?
Yabera.
Yay.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Privet.
Aye.
Asbury.
I wasn't at the meeting, so can I vote on the minutes for approval?
Can abstain.
Abstain, please.
Mr. Merchant.
Aye. And the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is continuance requests or withdrawals. Do we have any?
We have 2 requests for continuances today. Item 4, case 14744, request a continuance to May 7th. And item 5, case 14741, request deferral to May 21st.
Is anyone on the line that wanted to speak on either of those cases today? Hearing none, we'll take a motion to continue the items as requested.
Yabara.
Voorhees, second.
Okay.
We need a motion.
I have a motion and a second to continue items number 4 and 5 as requested. Can we call the vote, please?
Yabara.
Aye.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Privet.
Aye.
Asbury.
Aye.
Merchant.
Aye. And those are approved. Seeing nothing on the consent docket, we'll move on to items requiring a separate vote. Can we call the first item, please?
Okay, the first item for public hearing is case 14695, request of Al Court for a variance to the required number of parking spaces and hard surface parking requirement located at 742 West Britton Road.
Is the applicant on the line?
The applicant is on the line. He just needs to unmute himself.
I've got.
Okay, I did it. Had to do it twice. Sorry. This is Brad Rice, 1109 River Chase Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma, 73025. I also have Tyler Holmes and Mark Weinmeister. If they decide to speak, which I think Tyler will want to right off the bat, once we make it a quick introduction or reintroduction, I'll have him introduce himself as well, if that works for you.
Sure.
Okay, so one thing that I've sent across to Cynthia yesterday, and it may not have come across to you, originally when we came to you all, we were trying to look at waiving minimum parking for the entire south side of the 700 block of Britton, which was originally our application. We're just focusing now on the property that we are developing, since it was our application and our payment to go in this process. We're just going to focus on solely 742 West Britton Road, which JJ spoke to. So that being said, I'm going to introduce Tyler really fast, and then Tyler, give your name, and then why don't you get into what the request is? Because we've gone since we met with you all, we came back with different recommendations. Just so you know, we met with JJ for a few moments to get some feedback and some direction from him, just from a city standpoint, and then also to we've tried to work with the city and are requesting some things for the street. So in good faith, we're trying to work with the city just for streetscape and so forth. Tyler, why don't you go ahead?
Tyler Holmes, 1218 Northwest 21st Street, Oklahoma City. So yeah, basically what Brad said is it's now just the Alcourt property at 742 Britton Road. There's a site plan that we added. If you all do not have it, interrupt and please let me know, and just want to make sure that y'all are taking a look at that. But basically, yeah, what was mentioned is we're trying to get a variance for the type of material for parking, which we are wanting to do porous pavement, and then we're looking to revise the amount of parking required by standard city code. And with that said, on the porous material that we're looking to do, we would not be interested in doing it for the handicap stall. We want to maintain that flat, smooth surface for handicap accessibility, and that would be for one spot on the property. With that said, we can answer questions. I think that's where we're at. So
our plan does. Yeah, I was gonna say our plan does have some bike spaces included. Correct, Tyler?
Yes. So there are 6 bike spots, and what we have shown on this plan, we have 10 parking spots. But the reality is, as we went before and said we would like to do, waive the parking. On this, we would want to keep 8 parking spots. In reality, there is an ability that we could put more, but we want to limit it to that because we would like to have the option, if we did get the right tenant there, it would allow us to put dumpsters off Britton Road for easy access. That's the ideal place. But as you can see in the plan, the 8 spots would preserve the courtyard on this property, which, is in essence kind of part of the historic value of part of this idea and concept.
What is this is Mike Privet. What is the material you're proposing for the impervious, and what is the purpose of the impervious paving?
So we're investigating asphalt millings as well as decomposed granite. Both would be sufficient, carry sufficient trace to it. But basically when it comes to drainage, it would allow us honestly to alleviate drainage issues, because these would be porous, and so it actually would be able to seep into the earth instead of overflowing the street, as well as potentially cause issues on site. So yeah, those are the materials.
Okay, just
If we,
so not gravel. All right.
yes, correct.
Something I don't see in here that I may have missed. This is Sam Merchant. How many parking spaces are you supposed to have?
As shown right now, the 10 spots plus 6 bike parking is sufficient for retail and office use. So it is sufficient per the drawing right now. If we have any changes due to, wanting to create just the lively district, if we end up landing, say, more of a restaurant in, like, say, the 200 or 400 square feet, one of the units in the back, that could actually create an increase in parking, which then could begin to create kind of an interesting way of flow and traffic through the site. So that's part of the reason why it's kind of a just-in-case scenario with parking. But
This is Brad Rice. As a recollection, these are all small micro suites at this point in the back building, as well as the front shell building that's on the site plan. So the reality of having a restaurant there is not even in the cards at this point. We're not targeting that market. We're targeting small maker, user, artists, barber, small maker users, mom and pop shops.
And I should have rephrased my question. I realized as soon as I said it. How many are you supposed to have under the code? What's required under the code?
10 spots and the 6 bike racks actually allow us to alleviate, I believe it's 20% per city code, and then there's also a 5% administrative approval, and we've gone after that where administratively we think the bike racks would, it allows us to decrease our count and save space on parking. So it does meet the code. With 2,000, around approximately 1,800, 2,000 square feet in the back of the building, the shell space, and then the actual existing building not in scope, it's on site. It's considered and permitted to storage, as it would be a storage building on site, and the occupant on that is extremely low, and parking count it's almost negligible. So
did that answer the question though?
No, I mean, because if you met code, you wouldn't need a variance. So something is wrong here where you don't meet code and you need a variance. So that's kind of the question: is what kind of variance are we granting? Are you allowed? Are you required to have 50 parking spaces, or are you required to have 40? I just don't see it in the application. And JJ, feel free to chime in if you know.
Yeah, Sam, this is JJ. Originally they were asking for just a blanket variance to have no parking requirement. If you'll recall, the board was not very acceptable to that. So they went back, they had a permit pending for the remodel of the Owl Court and the buildings that required 10 parking spaces. So they just decided to go ahead and put those 10 in to cover office and commercial use. So they've proceeded on with their building permit to put in the 10 spaces. What they're asking for is to allow pervious paving on site, and should they add a use, like I said, not very likely, but should they add a use that would increase their parking requirement of few spaces, they're requesting a variance for any future parking needs. But
Okay.
they meet code. They meet code right now with what they're doing.
That makes sense, other than the paving requirement.
Right.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. So the question before us then is the hard surface requirement, and then a future undetermined use that they might be trying to take out of any kind of risk that they wouldn't have be in code in the future, I guess, is the issue.
Correct.
That concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can get behind the hard surface requirement, but I'm with Mr. Privet. I generally, don't like to do undetermined or uncertain variances going forward. I understand that it makes it more marketable for you going forward, and I certainly appreciate that. But for our purposes, I don't know that we want to get in the habit of granting things just in case something in the future might happen.
Keep in mind that there's about 2,200 square feet, give or take, at this property total. And the idea is to activate a kind of a courtyard environment similar to a Blue Garden downtown to make it more of a community space. So the buildings aren't there. It's just more of an open space for the community to walk over, bike over, what have you. And there is also a chance to have a bike trail right across the street coming up Classen, which the city has, I think it's already been approved as a bike trail coming up Classen and ending right there. So we hope there'll be more bike traffic. And then we're again still trying to work with the city to add parking along the street. So all these things coming together in a perfect storm, we're hoping that you all will see the vision, and hopefully the city will see the vision to bring that block one block further down from the 600 block to the 700 block. That was Brad speaking.
Yeah, Tyler's gonna make a quick comment. So initially dreaming this too, like we have trees that we're going to implant into this courtyard. We have an idea of, implementing a covered pergola. And we ambitiously want to plan for something like this kind of more flexible courtyard environment. It's just to put it on plan. It's like, it would be nice to see, but it's hard to even, like, probably if this were approved right after, we would go after a vision very similar to that. And our tenants will already push up against us about parking, so we're going to have to meet their needs. And so this allows us to meet their needs as if, parking were a less ideal scenario where parking may not be completely necessary. It's like with Blue Garden at Timpton, I believe Harvey, or nearby, they don't have any parking on site for that. It's all used by surface parking lots nearby, and honestly, ride sharing.
Do you know if Variety Care still opposes this? I know they opposed it in the prior renderings of this, or versions of this application.
Keep in mind, when we came to you the first time, we were saying we'd like to waive all parking for that side of the street, including ours.
Sure.
And that's no longer what we're asking for. So we now have parking in our plan, seeking that approval. So I don't see why Variety Care would. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't see why Variety Care would oppose us having parking.
Yeah, I agree. It's a different application and a different request, and so was kind of at the core of the question. Do they still oppose it? And they might still be on the line, and we'll give them an opportunity to chime in here in a little bit. Board members, any questions or comments to the applicant?
This is Monica Ibarra. I had one question, and I think it was Tyler that was speaking. And so I'm still a little confused about the number of spaces. My notes, as you were talking, says that you guys want to keep 8 spaces. Is that true, or 10?
Yeah, 8 is true. If we did go to 8, we would have to find a place to put 2 more spots. But that is contingent on potentially a city requirement to do a larger dumpster and for accessibility. Currently, we're doing Big Blues as office space is lower trash. Depending on a small food vendor or honestly anything, your trash requirements go up just because of excess food and products.
But Tyler, what you're saying is 8 spaces plus 1 handicap that is going to be concrete or hard surface?
It would be 7 plus 1 handicap.
7 plus 1.
But 8 total.
Okay, 7 plus 1 is I think the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, but I will.
If we do 7 plus that.
Sam, Monica. One thing that I'll add. This is Sam Merchant, Monica, is that technically, if we grant the variance, they could put 0 out there because they're getting a variance to the parking requirement.
Right.
To alleviate a potential future plan. And so, but while the numbers, I think it's important to understand what the idea is. Technically, if we grant this, they could go out there and put 0.
Well, but what we're not looking to do that. So what we're asking is, can you grant us 7 plus 1? So we have 8 on the plan. That way, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, conditionally, we would stick with what we'd stick with 8 because we would put 8 at least.
I mean, again, if you approve, we're not asking for a total waive of parking altogether like we initially were. So if it's a matter of 7 plus 1 for the handicap dedication, we're fine with that if you all are accepting of that. That way we can't do what you just suggested, Sam.
So JJ, how does that square with them being in compliance?
Well, you could specify that in your motion that they have the 7 plus 1. They've already shown that on the permit that they have pending, so they will have to do those anyway. But
Yeah, my understanding is they are already in compliance with the 7 plus 1 and the bike racks.
that's my understanding.
No, it's 10 plus 6 is compliance. 10 plus 6
Parking,
bike racks.
Tyler's saying it's 10 plus 6. We're going to be asking for 8, and we'll have the 6 bikes, is what he's saying. Correct?
Gotcha. Okay, so the variance is 2 then.
Yeah.
Okay, board members, any other questions or comments?
This is Mike Privet. I can live with that.
Was there anyone, I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this. Is there anyone on the line that wanted to speak on this matter other than the applicants?
And just for the record, Variety Care was not present at the first presentation when we did it in person. And no one else spoke up. It was just Tyler, Mark, and myself from the applicant.
Yeah, we will take into consideration their protest letter, but under the knowledge that the letter was also submitted under the prior version of the application, and the application has since changed substantially. Hearing no other people signed up to speak or wanting to speak on this matter, I concur with Mr. Privet's comments. I think now that we've narrowed down exactly what the request is, it seems reasonable to me. If we're going from 10 plus 6 bike racks to 8, I think we could grant the variance to say up to 8 parking spots, 1 handicapped within that 8, and then 6 bike racks. And then the hard surface requirement, I'm okay with as well. I was not on board with an entire waiver of the parking requirement for a potential future use, primarily because I don't think that shows a current hardship. That shows a future hardship that hasn't been established yet. But I think I can get there going from 10 to 8. And if that causes problems for the applicants, they can come back. But I think that makes sense for our purposes today.
I think we're fine with that. For the use that we have planned now, that should be sufficient. That's Brad speaking.
Yeah, we're good.
Great. Board members, any other questions, comments, or a motion?
This is Kitty Asbury. I'd like to make a motion. I would like a motion that we accept case number 14695 with a variance of allowing 7 plus 1 parking spaces, including the six bike racks and the hard surface pavement.
Privet, second.
Before you do that, are we talking pervious pavement for the 7, but we're talking hard pavement for the handicapped?
Oh, thank you. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So handicap would be hard pavement. The other 7 spots could be pervious pavement or porous.
Yeah. Kitty, is that the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Privet, second.
Mr. Privet, second. Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the variances in case number 14695 for the reason that they meet statutory conditions for a variance, subject to following conditions: 7 parking spaces and a variance for the hard surface requirement for those 7. The condition that one of the spaces out of 8 total will be a handicap space, and that there will be 6 bike racks on the premise. Kitty, does that accurately capture your motion?
It sounds like a winner.
Okay. Cindy, if we could take a vote.
Is that the driveway?
Ybarra,
Aye.
Voorhees,
Aye.
Privet,
Aye.
Asbury,
Aye.
Merchant.
Aye. And the application is approved.
Thank you all for hearing that. Now, if we hang up,
I think you just cut out.
Hang up.
Might have answered your own question about hanging up.
I was just gonna say, first of all, thank you for hearing that. And if we hang up, does that mess the rest of the call up for you all?
No, feel free to hang up.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, if we could call the next item.
Item 2, case 14742, request for variance to the minimum 5-acre lot size at 8900 South Council Road.
Is the applicant on the line?
This is Ralph Marcello, 8900 South Council Road.
Okay. If you wanted to go ahead and present your application.
Yes. Seeking a variance to build a building. The lot is zoned agricultural, and the minimum requirement to build on the property is 5 acres, and I sitting at 4.85 acres, and therefore not able to build anything on it, and just seeking a variance to be able to build that building.
Okay. Is this going to be for just personal use?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I'll have an area for kind of a shop for storing, some trailers and equipment, and then I'll have an area to the north of that'll be turf, and I'll net it, and then be able to have my daughter and my niece I can have their teams over there during inclement weather and be able to practice inside. And there'll be a couple batting cages as well for them to play.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at it. Looks like there's a baseball diamond on the property as well.
Yes. Yeah, I built that for my daughter when her team had nowhere to practice.
Yeah, I called this the Field of Dreams application. Just, you build it and they'll come, I guess. There's all kinds of stuff going on this property. I don't have any questions or comments. It seems like a pretty small request to me, and I think I can get on board with it, particularly if you let the board members come use those facilities at some point in the future.
Yeah, sure.
Board members, any questions or comments?
This is Mike Privet. No, I'm with you. Seems like just a technicality here. So.
Has anyone else signed up to speak on this matter that's on the line right now? Okay, hearing none, we will take a motion in a second.
This is Mike Voorhees. I'll move approval.
This is
Privet.
Kitty. I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I heard Mr. Privet second. Got a motion and a second to approve the variance in case number 14742 for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. We'll take a roll call.
Ybarra,
Aye.
Voorhees,
Aye.
Privet,
Aye.
Asbury,
Aye.
Merchant.
Aye. And it's approved.
All right. Thanks, guys, for doing that. And anytime you guys want to come out, just bring your bat and glove.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, if we could call the next item.
Item 3, case 14743, request of Karen Robinson for a variance to the driveway paving requirements at 11328 South Cemetery Road.
Is the applicant on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you wanted to present your application for us.
Well, I was just reading over my letter, and I'm thinking, what else can I tell them? The one thing I didn't say in the letter is this is surrounded by mostly unimproved property. I've got 10 acres. They're right together. I've got family property all around. And there's not much there. So that's the only thing I think I didn't include in the letter.
Could you just go over the actual request for us, just kind of an overview?
Yes. So I'm wanting to build a 2,000 square foot building for cannabis growing. It is ag exempt. My property is ag exempt, and mostly all around there is ag exempt. And anyway, so it's just very, very rural. And it would be very prohibitive for me to build the concrete driveway that they specified. Just price-wise for one, but also just what it would do to the property itself. There's already gullies on there, and the rain would just make it worse.
Okay, and I saw in the favorable comments, it says that this site is located in an area where gravel driveways are common, and the driveway is unusually long.
Yes.
And I tend to agree with you. Concrete's notoriously bad with runoff and things like that. So, and I think the code revisions might reflect that going forward. But there's also a letter of support, I'll note, in your application from a neighbor that said they don't have any problem with this. Board members, do we have any questions or comments?
Yeah. If there are no protests and nobody else wants to speak, this is Mike Voorhees. I'll move approval.
Okay, I don't have anyone signed up to speak. I'll wait about 10 seconds. Is there anyone on the line that wanted to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Monica Ybarra, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the variance in case number 14743 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Could we take a roll call, please?
Ybarra,
Aye.
Voorhees,
Aye.
Privet,
Aye.
Asbury,
Aye.
Merchant,
Aye. And it's approved.
Great. I appreciate it. And you guys stay healthy.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The only other items I have on the agenda were continued, which takes us to additional items, which I have none, communications and board reports, which I have none, citizens to be heard. I see a few people on the line. Were there any citizens to be heard today? Hearing none. Any other business? Okay, we are adjourned.